show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's October 5th, 2021. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we again discuss the news of the day. And Matt, you know what I want to start out talking about today? The message boards have been absolutely lit up for many, many days now. And the topics are obviously centered around the quality of play so far this season, the future of Manny Diaz, what a lot of fans wish were conversation about the future of Blake James and those sorts of things. And, you know, it got me thinking yesterday that one of the biggest problems that the Miami Athletic Department is facing right now is a lack of transparency. The PR letters and stuff that were sent out by Julio Frank before kickoff Thursday is great. Manny Diaz's 5-minute rant about how great everything is off of the College Game Day critique. Okay, that's great too. But, you know, if this were a state university, the fans would have a complete understanding of what this university and what this athletic department are facing with the current situation in football. The mistakes are the mistakes. You can't rewrite history. What was done was done. And now the question is going to be, what are things going to be like going forward? But when you don't know what the contract terms are and how many years are left, what the buyouts are, what the decisions are that Blake James, the Board of Trustees, and the president have to make in the coming days, I'm just finding that it creates a lot of angst amongst the fan base and a lot of uncertainty. And I think that's working against Miami athletics right now. So how does that tie into our news of the day? Well, I wrote a column about that subject, and I made the suggestion to UM that they make an exception and be transparent about everything moving forward here this season. And, you know, I think that will help them with the fans. We're hearing a lot, you know, people aren't going to go to games. We're hearing that they are not going to buy tickets, that they're not going to make donations. The ones that are going to the stadium are booing the players and coaches on an almost weekly basis now. It's the last 2 games. It's a bad environment, a bad situation in every which way, shape, or form. Matt, I think they need to be transparent. I think they need to tell the fans what the situation is and what the decisions that have to be made are in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I mean, on the flip side, you know, what if that transparency shows they basically have no money to hire a good coach?
You're not going to show bank statements. I mean, I'm not talking about, you know, giving everybody
well,
the
that would be
ledger of
transparent.
the
Transparency would be,
account.
we owe this, we're still paying this coach that much money. We're still paying this guy that much money, you know, this is how much, you know, the point is of transparency is how much money, the whole point is how much money can we afford to pay a new coach? I assume that's what you're talking about, right?
Well, no, okay, when's Manny's contract up? Does it have 2 years left? Does it have 3 years left?
But it's all with the idea that they have enough money to pay a new coach a lot of money.
What is the buyout? Okay.
That's not going to tell you much unless you know how much money they have in the bank anyway, honestly.
Well, no, because they can raise money and things like that. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to you know, the university can give athletics money, which I think they're going to need to in this situation. I just think that, like, if this were the University of Florida or Florida State, everything would be known. There would be no mysteries involved. Here at Miami, everything's a mystery. And you have to sit here and trust people with, you know, to do the right things that don't necessarily have the greatest racing form, you know, and I think it's creating a lot of angst amongst the fan base. And
yeah, I mean, listen, if Blake James did give Manny an extension, you know, they're not going to want to tell anybody that. I mean, that would be ridiculous.
He would need to be accountable for that. I mean, he's going to go to the fans and ask for money. I mean, They're not stopping taking those $1 million checks from people, or the $100,000 checks, or the $20,000 checks, or the $40,000 checks. These are the people that are anxious about it. They want to know what is going on. They want to know what the bill is. They want to know what is being done with the money that they're donating. And that is totally fair. And like I said, at 90% of the schools in the country, this wouldn't even be a conversation because at all the state schools, the contracts are public domain.
Yeah, no one's
knows. Huh?
No one's going to argue about the fact that I think it would be great to know that information. What I'm saying is I don't think Miami wants people to know that information because if they,
well, that's chicken shit.
They're treating it like it's
everybody around the country does it. Maybe they need that. Maybe there needs to be that layer of accountability.
Right. So why isn't Miami? That's the question you got to ask yourself.
Because they don't have to. And the point I'm making in my column is that we know you don't have to, but you should. Because, look at all the money in the last several years that has just been thrown in the garbage can. $2 million to Dan Enos. Forget the $5.5 million that it cost to pay off Temple to hire Manny. You've been firing coaches left and right the last couple of years. Or they've been resigning or whatever. I mean, that's all coming at expense. I mean, there's been a lot of money that has been donated by people that is being spent on, managing all these problems. I think the fans deserve transparency.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying why. That's when I asked you the question, why do you think they're not doing it? Because they still need that donor money to come in. And if they show how much money they've wasted on guys that are awful, nobody's going to want to donate. That's my whole point. That there's a reason they're not telling us, I think. That's all. It's not just because they don't have to. There's got to be a reason, because I do think it would behoove them to let people know, hey, here's where we're at. Here's what we can afford. Something like that. Just so fans sort of know, like, here's what we're dealing with. Because we're all in this together. I mean, it's not like the fans are the enemy of the University of Miami.
Correct.
They're hand in hand. Like, the University of Miami does better when the fans are happy, and the fans are happy when the University of Miami does better. It's not like they're at odds with each other. UM's treating it like it's an enemy out there that's trying to get information. And I'm trying to say to you, I think there's a reason for that. I don't think we're going to find out any information on who they're still paying, how much, and all this other, any actual money figures.
That's right. It's a partnership. It's a partnership with the fans and a partnership with the community. And the point I'm making is treat it like a partnership and be transparent and let people know. Like, if I'm writing checks to Miami Athletics, I want to know what my money is going towards. And I want to know what they're doing to make things better and what the cost is going to be. Maybe I'm willing to write another check. We have people on our message boards right now that are discussing in a thread their willingness to write yet another check. And despite everything that's been done, help them get themselves out of this situation, because it means that much to them to see a good product on the field on Saturdays.
I mean, listen, no one's going to disagree with you. There's not a single fan on the Miami message boards this morning that's going to say Gary Ferman is wrong. They should keep everything secret and not tell us any of the information. That's their prerogative. They know what's best. They know what they're doing. We don't need to know. So of course they should do that. What I'm saying is you got to read between the lines for why they're not doing it.
All right. Well, obviously I agree with you. And if that is the case, that's all the more reason why they should be transparent. So I don't know if they're going to take my suggestion in the spirit that it's intended. I'm sitting here watching. All of this and kind of like, sitting back and absorbing it all. And I see problems at a lot of different layers. And I think that transparency and communication are Miami's ticket out of this mess. And, they'll choose to do what they want to do. They can keep hiding. Like I said in the column, you can keep hiding.
Listen, there's a better chance that Dan Enos comes back as the next offensive coordinator than Miami's going to tell us what all these salaries are, okay?
Probably. But again, if this were Florida State, we would know every number and we would have the ins and outs of every single decision that has to be made. And you can only hide for so long. And you want to keep hiding behind being a private university. I think that some of those people that have been writing checks are not going to be so anxious to do it in the coming months and years, just because of some of the things that have been being done. But, we'll let that one be as it may for now. Anybody that's interested in this subject, you can read my column on the website this morning. Hope you enjoy that. It's a little bit of a different point of view. All right. Beyond that, we promised you a lot of recruiting stuff on the website this week, and we deliver today. you can read about Jess Simpson's visit down the Homestead, where he went to watch Daniel Lyons and Dante Anderson, their two defensive linemen that Miami's been recruiting. We still can't get a handle, Matt, on just how hard they're really recruiting these two. I mean, Lyons is committed to Florida State. Anderson has been kind of like considered an on-the-fence type of prospect. But I think some of these on-the-fence kind of prospects, because of the way the season's going and the fact that the pool of recruits is going to be shrinking, might, become more front burner prospects. So Jess Simpson headed down the Homestead. Just give us a general feeling on how you think all that is going down there.
Yes, I mean, just for background, what happened, when these kids were sophomores, Todd Stroud was all over them. They both had major committable offers. Miami, totally wanted both of them. They both wanted to play together. They were pretty much, from what I heard, planning to be at Miami together, and then Jess Simpson came in and wasn't thrilled with Dante Anderson as sort of the type of defensive lineman he wanted. But I think that Jess has warmed up to Dante a little bit now. And, if Miami doesn't take Dante, I think he winds up at like a Georgia Tech. He's not, I know he's a 4-star on Rivals, but he's not like getting these, the Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia offers type of thing. Okay. Daniel Lyons, even though he's a lesser rated prospect, is actually a higher offer kid. And that's the kid I think Miami, really covets and would love to have. He picked Florida State over Miami. Florida State's obviously struggling mightily. As you'll see in the story, Daniel Lyons is still, while he's committed, he's still checking out his options. Both these kids are waiting until December after their season to take visits, both early enrollees. The fact that Jess Simpson went out there shows you that, this is alive and kicking and it's something to monitor. And, basically, if they wind up taking official visits in December to Miami, I would think they'll both wind up at Miami still. That was sort of always their dream school. I think that with Jess Simpson looking elsewhere and trying to get some other high-profile guys, they sort of felt like a little bit of a plan B as a duo. But that can, it's recruiting. That can change in a hurry. So definitely two guys to watch.
All right. We also have a story this morning on Miramar's Darius Thomas, a kid that is still waiting for a Miami offer, but that the Hurricanes have been recruiting regularly. He's hearing every week from T-Rob. Man, that T-Rob continues to be just everywhere. I mean, every story, every recruit that's live, it seems like we're mentioning the name T-Rob. I say it almost every day on this show. But yeah, T-Rob's been talking to this kid every week, but he does not yet have an offer. We don't know if he's getting one, but we catch you up to speed on that recruitment as well. Let's see. Also, today we have our Canes in the NFL Week 4 highlights. You can catch up on what the Pro Canes did this past weekend. One other recruiting story that I failed to mention was Jaleel Skinner, the 5-star tight end from Georgia, is going to be announcing on Friday where he's attending college. And he's announcing from Miami, Alabama, Clemson, Texas, and Florida State. And so we had Coach Hayes dive into his film, analyst Kyle Hayes, and give us an update on just, what his film looks like and what type of prospect Coach Hayes feels that Jaleel Skinner is and what's at stake on Friday when he makes his announcement. And Matt, just to sum up Jaleel Skinner, man, I mean, this was a kid that was looking really good for Miami for a while. I mean, they were right in there, great relationship with Steve Field, the tight end coach. But it's gone south because of the season. I mean, when Miami wasn't competitive against Alabama, that was the first one. Still, Jaleel Skinner took the time to fly down here for Thursday night's game against Virginia. That was an unofficial visit. He came down here for that game and was in the stadium on Thursday. And what he saw was not great. And, Matt, this is probably going to become a theme, but I think Miami blew any chance they had of getting Jaleel Skinner with that performance Thursday night, with the fact that the team was getting booed in the stadium, the fact that the stadium was 2/3 empty, the fans didn't show up for a big night game on national TV. It was just a bad look all the way around, had nothing to do with the missed field goal at the end. I'm expecting Jaleel Skinner probably to choose Alabama.
I think that's what most people think. I mean, it's a shame, because Steve Field put in a huge amount of work and really built a rapport with the kid. I think the kid in his heart wanted to be at Miami and had to basically, see why he shouldn't be at Miami, and he saw that, So, look, there's still the kid can commit wherever he wants. Doesn't mean it's over with. Miami's not going to give up. Stephen Field doesn't give up in these situations. He'll keep talking to the kid, but yeah, I don't expect he'll announce from Miami. But when it comes time in December, who knows? Maybe Miami will figure something out. It hasn't helped that the tight end situation this year has just been awful. And what I'm more curious about is if Stephen Field sort of shifts direction, because he put all his eggs in the Skinner basket. And do they try to get another tight end in this class? Do they go to the transfer? Do they go to the transfer portal? I know they like Arroyo, but you need more than one or two tight ends. And I don't think Hodges and Mammarelli, you haven't seen anything from them. They seem injury prone or suspension prone in one case. The other two are true freshmen. You don't know what you're going to get. Tight end situation this season has just not been good, with Will Mallory dropping passes and just not doing much besides helping in pass protection. So that's really what's going to be most interesting, to see where Miami goes from here at tight end, if they take a tight end in this class or just go the transfer portal route. My guess would be the transfer portal route. You could see like what happened for instance, I know that he didn't play the tight end for Michigan State that game, but I mean, they had a top transfer tight end. Virginia. So you never know. You never know what's going to happen, who's going to come out in that portal. But I do think Miami's going to have to attack things through the portal a lot, just because there's going to be so much uncertainty heading into December, the signing day. So it's going to be a lot to talk about come December, I think, for us and for fans.
Kind of reminds me a little bit of the recruitment a couple of years ago of Justin Flo, the linebacker, who really liked Miami, had bonded with Rohan Marley. It was looking, Steve Field was recruiting him too, and it was looking like Miami had a shot there. And then just the season didn't go well, and he ended up going to Oregon, where he's been having a hard time staying on the field. Injuries have just been killing that kid. But anyway, so it's going to be hard to get these five-star kids. We talked a lot about it early in the cycle. I was very complimentary of the coaches for stepping up their game a little bit in recruiting and not being afraid to get their hands dirty and compete against the big boys for some of these top prospects like Skinner. Did a great job getting them to come to Paradise Camp. Like I said, it was looking good. But at the end of the day, it's going to be hard to close on these guys if you don't have at least a few things going for you. And right now, Miami doesn't have a ton. Unfortunately, there's just not a lot of positive going for the program right now that's going to allow them to compete for these top prospects. And that's part of the issue that Blake James and the administration are going to have to weigh here as the year goes forward. And, they make the hard decisions on whether to spend the money to change things up, because every year that goes by that you're not competing for the top players in the country, there's another one or two that the product on the field likely will fall short. And it's just it's a vicious circle that we've been watching now for 2 decades here at Miami, and it long ago became difficult to watch. And so we'll continue, obviously, to monitor all that moving forward. A programming note, CaneSport Live tonight, 8 p.m. Sure, that'll be, it's been a great show all year this year. Very good calls, very good conversation. I'm sure tonight will be the same. Our special guest on our Point Counterpoints segment with Bruce Warner is going to be Carlos Huerta, the kicking great, who we're going to have on the show and talk a little bit about what is going on right now with Andres Borregales and what's going through his mind now, having failed on that stage on Thursday night. And I also want to talk to Carlos about what led to that moment. That 2 minutes that lasted forever because of timeouts and everything, where Miami did not try to score a touchdown, chose to let the clock wind down and play for the field goal, and ended up getting burned in the end, like we've seen so many teams do through the years. I'm not saying there's a right or a wrong. We see both work sometimes. We see both fail sometimes. I mean, Tyler Van Dyke could have thrown an interception. Somebody could have fumbled. There's a million things that could have happened trying to score a touchdown in that situation. At the same time, you're putting a freshman kicker out there. He was standing around thinking about that kick for a very long time, the way it unfolded, and the kick ended up hitting the upright. And obviously, unfortunate for Andres, who's been a great kid, is a great kid, has a great future. You could just see the talent that this kid has, and he's going to have a great career here at Miami. He's just a true freshman right now. But at the end of the day, it was a loss, and he's living with that right now, and that's got to be hard for an 18-year-old kid. So we'll talk to Carlos about that tonight, amongst a million other things. Wednesday night, we do have the Lamar Thomas Show coming up once again. It's been great the first 3-4 weeks. Great guests, great conversation, great times. I hope you guys have caught on to the Lamar Thomas Show and have been watching it each week. I'm sure if you have, you've been relatively happy. It's been fun for me to be part of it with all those guys and just have a good time every Wednesday night. So that's going to do it now for Good Morning CaneSport. For Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. Hope to see everybody tonight on CaneSport Live, tomorrow on the Lamar Thomas Show, and we'll be back tomorrow with another Good Morning CaneSport. Goodbye, everybody.